Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Grace Lauren Taylor, and you are listening to episode 68 of the Trauma Dump Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Here at the Trauma Dump Podcast, we seek to answer the question, what is mental health? How do I take care of my own, and how do I support others? This week, we'll be discussing the topic of prioritizing your safety in any domestic abuse situation. We are going to be talking about this with our very special guest of the week, Hannah. You can go follow her over on TikTok. It is at loves_mommy. That is LUVS_MOMMY. So please go check her out after the episode and support her for being on our show. And remember, if you'd like to share on the podcast, please message us in our Discord and the podcast participants channel along with your unique experiences, and we will match you to the right episode. And just a quick disclaimer before we start. I am not a licensed health professional. This podcast only seeks to create community and further understanding of these topics that are so often overlooked and extremely misunderstood. If you or a loved one are in need of medical professional help, we have resources in our descriptions. The topics discussed here are for a mature audience, so viewer discretion is always advised. And at the top of the show, we'd like to give a resource to you. The Domestic Violence Support Hotline is 1-800-799-7233, or you can text START to 88788. They are 100% free and 100% confidential. Their website is www.thehotline.org, so please check them out if you are in need of any resources pertaining to domestic violence. If you or someone that you love is being abused, the sexual assault hotline from RAINN is 1-800-656-4673. Again, that is 1-800-656-4673. Remember, if you are experiencing domestic abuse, it is not your fault. You are not at fault for anything that is happening. But we need to prioritize our safety. So let's get into this episode and discuss why that's so important. Hello, Hannah. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited too. So, we're going to be talking about some really triggering topics. So, for our viewers, viewer discretion is very much advised in this episode. Are you comfortable with sharing your experiences, Hannah?
Yes, I am.
Okay. To make sure that I'm not crossing any of your boundaries and respecting your experiences, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. We can also take a break. And if you don't feel like answering a question, just let me know. I'll skip it. I'm not going to get offended. My priority is to make sure that you feel safe and comfortable at all times when we're talking about these very unsafe
Yeah.
topics.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. So, can you share a little bit about your own experience with domestic abuse and how it has shaped your path as an influencer now?
Yeah, so for me, so for my specific situation, I was married for almost 5 years. My husband was never really abusive towards me. He did drink a lot. Like not like a lot, but like on the weekends he would drink and then he would excessively drink and I would be like, "Hey, like you're drinking too much, like you need to calm down." And those type of things would make him mad or he would be like, "Why are you always complaining to me about these things?" And so I just kind of try to keep to myself and mind my business. And then we went on a vacation in Hawaii and he probably had about, I don't know, 20 buzz balls and like six Mai Tais, and he was just way over the top. And when I had confronted him about his drinking, I had told him like, "Hey, if you're gonna continue to drink like this, my daughter and I are gonna get a different hotel room, and you're more than welcome to stay here, but I'm not gonna be around that." And it really caught me off guard, but he was absolutely livid at me confronting him about that. And I mean, I don't even remember the first punch. But basically from there, like everything turned into like a nightmare. I mean, I don't remember everything, but I there was like bits and pieces of like my memory still coming back from everything, but of him just punching me or like sitting on top of me punching me. And like I never fought back, like I don't even think I could if I wanted to. Um, and just like, I've never been in a situation like that before. And I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't get him to stop because he was in a rage, and he just kept knocking me out. And I remember I'll never forget him punching me. This side of my face is like where if you've seen my videos, like this was the right side of my face is where he was mainly punching me. But I remember feeling my bone break in my face. And I was just like, why are you doing this to me? Like my daughter is right there in her crib. And I don't think that anybody can prepare for something like that. Especially
Mm.
like I'm not that big of a person, but my husband was a big dude. Like he's like at least 120 pounds more than me. And just like in that strength that he had, I don't know from like the drinking or what, but it's like you can't stop that. But really like that's the extent of, like my situation. I mean, it did span, I want to say between 4 to 5 hours of just like him beating on me. I mean, I had my eye, I couldn't even open it. He broke my bone right here under my eye, my cheek, and my nose. My ear was completely swollen, purple and black. My temples were all bruised. The back of my neck was black. My neck here was bruised. Um, yeah, I mean, that was the scariest thing I've ever dealt with in my life.
I mean, I cannot imagine. That is horrifying. Um, yes, I found you from your TikToks talking about domestic abuse, and October is Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. And I mean, I really wanted to have you on because this is something you're actively going through right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a really scary situation, and it just it when I started my TikTok page, I never really used TikTok before, and I wasn't expecting my video to reach as many people as it did. Um, and the amount of people that have messaged me with similar situations that they're going through, it absolutely breaks my heart because I was so blind to how much this happens to people on a daily basis.
Mm.
Um, and it's terrifying that people have to go through that.
It is very terrifying. At the top of the show, we like to give resources. Um, if you or anyone that you know or love is in a crisis, please call 911. Even if you're in another country, it will route you to the correct emergency number. The domestic violence hotline is 1-800-799-7233, or you can text START to 88788. Um, please, if you're ever in an abusive situation, document everything. And that's also why I was very moved by all of your videos is you're documenting everything for the world. And once it's on the internet, it can't be deleted, right? Like once it's out there, um, it can't be taken away from you. Once you had come to after that situation, what did you do? What was your next step?
Like from me, like after the assault,
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, like there was a point where I had called my parents because I didn't know what to do. You know, I'm in a state where I don't know anyone. I don't have any support. And my dad was like, get away from the balcony and like try to de-escalate the situation and get you and your daughter out safe. Um, so basically, like what I did was I went into the room, I tried to de-escalate the situation. He got mad, picked up my 50-pound suitcase, walked over to the balcony and threw it off the balcony. And so I grabbed my daughter and I ran out of the room and I went down to the front desk. Um, that was terrifying and humiliating because I looked unrecognizable. And from there, the hotel staff had called the police and EMS, and then they came and, they were, like, checking me and my daughter, like, trying to get me out of sight because I was in a panic. Like, I thought he was going to
Hmm.
kill me. And then basically from there, they arrested him and I ended up going to the trauma hospital. Um, but yeah, like the police were extremely helpful. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what would happen if I wasn't able to get out of that room and him being arrested, which is really scary to think about.
It is very scary to think about. So, do you know where he is now?
Um, I don't know where he's located. He was bailed out of jail. I haven't had any contact with him, so I'm like, I don't know where he is, which is also kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That is
yeah,
terrifying. Have you gotten an order of protection for yourself and your daughter?
I have, but the issue is I don't know where he is to serve him. But it's still in effect, regardless if he knows about it or not. But yeah, so that's like kind of like a struggle that I'm facing right now. Um, between because it's like between three states basically, so between California, Nevada, and Hawaii.
Hmm.
So it's like it's a lot of like courts to go through, police departments to go through. I mean, even finding like a lawyer for something like this is really difficult because it's so many different states involved.
Yeah,
But yeah, I have a TPO, temporary protective order in place.
that's good. I'm glad that
Yeah,
you have that.
thank you.
Um, what
Me
was
too.
that, girl? What was that turning point that made you decide to speak out publicly about domestic abuse?
So honestly, like, so when I came back, my sister and my dad had picked me up from the airport. And I just remember that feel like I just felt so low. I never felt so low in my life. And my sister was like, you need to document, you need to take pictures, like you need to remember this, because the pain's gonna go away, but you need to remember. And I just remember we got home and we were going to the store and my face hurt so bad. I mean, even to wear sunglasses, I couldn't wear makeup. Like my nose was broken, so anytime I tried to put something on my face, like it just hurt so bad. But I wanted to go to the store, like I was just like, you know. And when I left the store, I was just so humiliated because of like the looks that I was getting and like it wasn't like people were asking me like, are you okay? It's just like people were looking at me like a crazy person. And that feeling of humiliation is what made me want to document because I know that other people go through those situations. And I thought about it and I waited a little bit to post and I was like, you know what? I know that I have to do this because one, I need it for myself because, like my sister said, the pain's gonna go away. But I look at those videos every single day because I have them documented. And every time I look at it, it makes me sad because I'm like, wow, like you looked like that a few months ago, you know?
Yeah.
And really just like, I want to document my self healing on like, this is where you were, this is where you're at now. And like, just something that I can look back on to be like, yeah, you had a rough time, but look at how much you've grown as a person since that happened to you. And like, hopefully I can help some people on the way. So that's like the main thing for me, wanting to, document my journey. And, not everybody supports that, and that's fine. But I do know that there are some people, I mean, even if it's one person, it's worth it to me. So,
Yeah. And I know you have definitely helped people. I mean, your comment section is flooded with horrible circumstances that so many have endured, and it felt like they couldn't share what they were going through.
yeah,
And it makes my voice break because it makes me really sad. Like, it is genuinely like domestic abuse is the most underreported crime, but very prevalent crime worldwide, globally, because of that stigma that you were experiencing of people just judging.
yeah,
There's so much judgment.
yeah.
What are
Even in like my comments, like, I mean, there's some really stupid comments that I've read. And, at first, like posting, it's like you're so vulnerable because it's so fresh and you're just, it's not like you're looking for support, but in a way you're looking for support. And, some people would be like, oh, next time, like cook him breakfast or, stuff like that. And it's like, how could you say that to someone? Like, what if that was your family member? Um, and I know not a lot of people talk about the situations that they go through because they're just not ready to talk about it or they don't want to put their business out there. But regardless of the hate comments, the community that you build of women and men that stand behind you is so much greater than the hate that you get. Um, and I don't even let those people get any type of clout on my page. I delete their comments and I block them. I'm like,
good?
I don't have any room for that type of negativity in my life, and I just want to be happy and positive and yeah.
I'm glad that you do delete them. In your opinion, why is it so important to recognize that domestic abuse can happen to anyone, regardless of their gender, their socioeconomic status, their background?
Um, I would say because well, you really just never know. Like you literally never know what somebody's going through. It does not matter. I mean, it could happen to the richest person in the world, to the poorest person in the world, someone you work with every single day, that maybe they maybe they've had a couple bad days and you didn't know why and they were going through something like that. Um, I mean, it's just you really never know. Um, and some people they don't get hit in their face.
Yeah.
Like some abusers hide that and they do that on purpose. And people get so scared, to talk about it or to bring it up or, oh, they're not going to believe me about it because, I don't have a black eye or whatever. But that's why, like, you should always try to treat people with kindness. And especially when people are having a bad day, because you really just never know what somebody's going through.
Mm. I like that you're telling us treat people with kindness, um, because that is so vital
Yeah.
to how everyone should conduct themselves is treat others with kindness and empathy. Um, I'm very sorry that you have people in your comments being assholes. Um, there's no
Yeah, I
reason.
just misery loves company, I guess. I mean, yeah, they're just not worth the time. And I don't know. I mean, it's part of the posting, I guess. There's trollers everywhere, and I just hope that that never happens to anybody that they know. So,
Mhm. When you called your dad, your parents, when this was going on, and they asked you to try to de-escalate the situation, do you think they understood how bad it was?
I think that they did because I had FaceTimed them.
Okay.
So they did see my face. And I mean, my face was it was swollen pretty bad. Like I couldn't even open up my eye. So they definitely knew like the seriousness of it. Um, but I think it was more of the like freaking out because they weren't right down the street from me to be able to help me. Um, yeah.
The whole episode is about prioritizing your safety and making sure that you take care of yourself and also your children. Um, may I ask how old your daughter is?
Yeah, my daughter just turned 2. Just a little baby.
Is a baby. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. That must have added a whole other level of fear.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like I I don't remember like it's crazy because like I don't remember if she was crying. I don't remember. Like and yeah, it's horrible. Like I she's traumatized from that situation and it's been difficult um because not a lot of therapists or play therapists work with 2-year-olds. Um I just now have I mean this incident occurred on July 31st. And within the last like 2 weeks, I'd say, I finally have been able to get her to go into her crib without her screaming bloody murder.
Mm.
At night when I go to put her down. Um, at preschool, she just started preschool. I enrolled her to try to, help kind of help her work through her emotions and stuff and not be like cooped up in the house.
Mm.
And I mean, the last 2 weeks, whenever like a dad comes in to get their kid, she is having a full on panic attack. Like she threw up all over her teacher. Um, it's really sad. But she's getting better day by day, and we're working through it together. So
Yeah, I'm so sorry that you two are experiencing that. That's just, oh,
it's
it's
horrible.
horrendous. It's horrendous. What are the safety plans that you have put in place if your, I'm gonna call him your ex, if your ex does show up?
So thankfully, I moved to a new apartment that he doesn't know where it is. Um, if he does ever show up and find out where I live, I will call 911 so fast. Um, and I don't think that he'll find where I'm at just because it's like in a place that he's never been. So I don't think it'd be easy for him to find me. Um, but I will call 911 and I know that he doesn't want to go to jail, so hopefully he, will stay away. And also I will call my dad because he's a couple miles away from me, but um yeah, I hope that that doesn't happen, but
Mm.
yeah, 911 always.
Mm. That's good. You were talking about
Yeah.
lawyers. Um, Are you planning on obviously suing for custody and then trying to get him in jail?
Um, I I do want to pursue full custody. Um, and I I really hope that the courts push for him to go to prison
Mm-hmm.
so that he can, face the consequences to his actions and really get the treatment and help that he needs to do better with the next person that he's with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, yeah, he needs to face, he needs to be held accountable for what he did. And I don't think that is, I don't think anything's like it's fair as him going to prison. Like he needs to go to prison. I don't think a probation is fair. Um, I mean, I know that that's also an option, which
Mm-hmm.
is terrifying that somebody could almost kill someone and um, have a chance of being put on probation. But yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm my daughter's provider. I do everything financially. Like I'm okay. I can take care of me and my daughter. Um, I put a roof over our head. I have a car. I have a stable job. Um, so I'm really hoping that I'm able to get that.
Yeah. And I'm rooting for you, girl.
Thank
Um,
you.
I am. Truly, I'm rooting for you. And there's nothing more determined than a woman scorned, honestly, especially a mother scorned. Um,
Yeah, that is so true.
I know you're so capable, and I am really proud of you for getting yourself the hell out of there and then setting yourself up with a new living situation because many women don't escape. Many women and men and non-binary people will figure, oh, it was just a one-time occurrence. It was just the alcohol, just whatever, and they make excuses. I'm glad that you didn't make any excuses and saw the behavior for what it was.
I will say, like, that first couple weeks, and I feel like this is where it really makes a difference because now that I've been through it, I'm like, okay, I know those emotions, especially like after it happens, because you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, like, did they mean it? Are they sorry? Like what's going through their head right now? Like, oh my gosh, I can't live without them. Like, that's my husband or whatever, and having no contact, even though it's the hardest thing in the world to do, is the best thing. Um, I mean, you start to get empowered from it after a while, after you get over that hurt, because it's like, you're going to start your healing and you're going to start like being clear-headed and being able to process everything that you went through without a manipulator, abuser getting in your head of like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, or whatever their excuse is. And you can see it yourself, you know, without that. Um, I just did a video today on no contact. I mean, it's so true. No contact is the best thing that somebody could do that's in an abusive relationship. Um, and like you were saying, like there's a lot of people that they can't really move, due to like financial reasons or whatever it may be. Um, but there's so many shelters that will take your family and they'll take your pets. Like they will take you as you are, and just have like resources to be able to help you and get you back up on your feet. And it might be a little bit longer of a process, but at least you'll be in a safe location. Your kids will be in a safe location. Your pets will be in a safe location. So there are really good resources out there.
What role can public education and awareness campaigns play in preventing domestic abuse?
Mm. I mean, that's a tough one just because I feel like our justice system is so backwards, um, that I don't think that they fully understand. I mean, unless it's one of their family members going through it. Um, that's a hard one. I mean, people don't talk about it enough. And when people do talk about it, it's like it's crazy, talking to someone that's gone through something like that, or um I don't know, it's yeah, I there's just so much wrong with our system when it comes to domestic violence that I don't really know how to answer that just because I'm like I mean I'm going through it right now with the courts and I'm just like it's just so disappointing. I mean, they don't make the process easy. I think that if they were to do anything, definitely like advertising resources, putting more money into housing and sheltering, resources for, people that are going through these situations because there's really not that much. A lot of the stuff that these places get, it's just donated.
Hmm.
So I guess, yeah, one thing could be that, like advertising that more and, getting more funds to support domestic violence and therapy and, life after domestic violence.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. Um, I know that there's lots of women's shelters, but I think there also needs to be more men's shelters because men experience domestic abuse as well. Um,
Yeah.
and that really isn't a thing, especially not here in Texas. Um, of people, from my perspective, when I think of public awareness campaigns, I think of signs on highways that like give the hotline number or give a text number or say that love is not abuse, love is not hitting, love is lifting up, not putting down. Um, I really also think that children in public schools in our education system need to be taught how to recognize abuse. On our Discord server recently, we had our anonymous confessions episode where all of the members on our Discord can anonymously share their experiences with everybody. And a lot of them are children that are experiencing domestic abuse and don't know what to do, don't know how to get help, um, don't really know why it's happening to them, and then don't know what they can do about it. And I tell them all the time, please talk to your counselors, please talk to, people at school outside of your family dynamic, tell them what's going on. um, because a lot of these children need to be taken out of where they are in their homes. And I really do think Child Protective Services needs to be updated. I think, like you were saying, therapy, people need to be more trauma informed and how trauma manifests in our bodies, in our minds, everywhere, and how we make a lot of trauma informed decisions like you were talking about with your daughter is experiencing intense trauma that is not only psychological but also physical. It has a physical manifestation now that she is
Yeah.
so afraid. And
Yeah, oh, sorry.
it's okay, go ahead.
No, I was reading, well, I put on my video earlier, but it was saying that kids that witness domestic violence, it affects them just as if they were the ones being assaulted. And I never like knew that it affected them that way, but like after like reading that, I was like, wow, like that is it's true. Like even just seeing it, it severely traumatizes kids. And there really is not enough resources for that. to be able to help kids like work through that trauma because every single person on this earth handles trauma a different way. Um, and just being able to make conscious decisions and process like what you're going through. Um, I mean, even at a young age, 2 years old, you still have to make, you're still thinking, you're still going through it.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone listening who suspects a friend or a loved one is in an abusive relationship, but they don't know what to do or how to help?
I would say, I would be very cautious, talking to them about that. But don't ignore signs when you see them. Um, I would personally, like if it was my friend, I would wait until they were by themselves or be like, hey, like, do you want to go out to lunch or something? Just like try to get them isolated a little bit from whoever, because you never know if it's at their home and their abuser's there, that could be bad. Um, but I would try to like talk to them and, like you can see a lot of times like signs of how somebody talks about someone. Um, and maybe just because like I've gone through this now, like I feel like I am more keen to like seeing like, okay, this person has like fear, like talking about them, or like they have nervous twitches or something, and kind of just like look for things like that. And hopefully, if they are your friend or like, coworker or whatever, classmate, that they feel safe like talking to you. And it might not be the first time. You might have to do it a couple times. And it might, be a little bit of information here and then more the next until they get comfortable opening up, because for some people it's really hard. Um, but just letting that person know that you're there for them for whatever and that you support them, um, will help them so much. And it might not be right away, but you'll build that trust with them. And if something really bad is happening, like always call 911.
Yeah.
Um, and try to get them out of that into a safe place. Um, I mean, I don't know. There's different, every scenario is different, but I say like the sooner the police involved is usually better. But I know in some cases, like it could is worse, especially if they go and then they end up leaving. Um, so you really just kind of have to take the situation and like feel it out, see what's happening, let that person know that you support them, that you're there for them, talk with them, let them talk, let them talk about how they're feeling, how their day was. That's the biggest advice I have, because people aren't looking for a lecture. They're most of the time they're looking for somebody to listen.
Yeah. I think that's a very good thing to point out that a lot of abuse survivors already feel prejudged, even if you're not judging them. All of these stigmas around being abused and being abused within itself, like you were saying earlier, is very humiliating. It's very isolating.
Yeah.
It doesn't just impact your physicality or your mentality, but also your idea of yourself and your physical autonomy. Um, it affects so many different aspects of who you are as a person and breaks you down on so many levels. If someone is willing to open up to you, just listen, absorb that information, and be there for them. When I was going through an abusive relationship, um, I let a guy friend know about it, and he was like, well, just leave him then. And he put the blame on me for being in that relationship in the first place, which, everybody's at a different place in their healing and in their ability to recognize manipulation or abuse. And I wasn't ready yet. And honestly, his comments really set me back and honestly did kind of push me back into the arms of my abuser, because my abuser told me things like, no one is going to believe you. No one is going to trust you. They're all going to think you're lying. And it felt like that guy thought I was just trying to gain sympathy or lie about it. It really, like, anybody who lies about abuse, you're not only, protecting real abusers, but you're hurting victims. And um, after a while, this guy apologized to me um, for everything that he said and how he treated me. And he said the reason why he reacted that way in the first place was he met a girl who totally lied about being abused, and it was proven to be a lie. And so he couldn't fathom, you know, actual abuse happening to a happy person, is what he said, because I presented so happy and so carefree.
That goes back to that. You never know what somebody's going through, and it doesn't matter who it is. People wear smiles all the time.
Yeah.
That's horrible, and I'm sorry that you went through that. It's definitely easier for it's easy for people to say, get out. Like, why are you with them? You're stupid for being with them. You're choosing that. Um, but everybody has different reasons, and I mean, it's just like when somebody is an addict with something, they're not gonna give it up unless they're ready. I mean, it's the same thing as like leaving someone. You're gonna leave when you're ready to leave. I mean, of course, everybody wants you to leave like as soon as possible because it's real and people die from abuse. Um, just like people die from alcohol and drugs. But uh, I I feel like a lot of times people say that out of a place of like just concern and they don't really understand. But when you're going through it, it's the most annoying thing to hear because you're like, what do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm sorry that that happened to you, and yeah, there's just some that's why it's just better to listen, and be an ear for that person because it's little things like that that can just set somebody back or like make them lose that confidence that they've been trying to build up like nothing.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. It did definitely set me back, and it did make me start to second guess a lot of things. Um, and I'm very glad that I eventually did have the courage to leave. But speaking of leaving, leaving is the most dangerous part of a domestic abusive situation. Um, it is the most dangerous. When a victim of domestic and family violence is planning to leave or has recently left their relationship, uh, the perpetrator may fear losing control and will often act impulsively, increasing their use of violence. And 77% of domestic homicides occur upon separation. And there's a 75% increase of violence upon the separation for at least 2 years after the separation. Um, Many people experiencing intimate partner violence realistically fear that leaving their abusive partners will make their abusive partners more violent and more lethal. So that's why it's very crucial to plan your escape, to plan a safe plan. So we're going to start delving into that. and I have a list. Um, Identify the safe areas in your home where there are exits and no weapons, like a room with a door that you can lock and access to leave quickly. So, for instance, the podcast room, there's a door and then there's a big window. Um, if you are in a situation where you can't leave throughout the front door, the back door, a window is a really good option. Have an exit strategy. Know which doors, windows, or stairwells that you could use to escape. And maybe walk your route of escape without your perpetrator knowing. So walk around your house, maybe like dust things off, wipe things down, act like you're cleaning. Have an idea of a safety plan. Pack an emergency bag with essentials without your perpetrator knowing. Essentials include your ID, any money, keys, medication, important documents, clothes, etc. Keep it hidden but accessible, or leave it with a trusted friend or family member. Establish a code word. Having a code word or a signal with trusted friends, family, or neighbors that alerts them when you need help. And then plan where to go. Identify a safe place to go in case you need to leave quickly, such as a friend's house, a shelter, or even a hotel or a fire station. It is also very important to know where your nearest police station or fire station is. Um, Police obviously will protect you, but firefighters will as well. They are trained for these situations and they will keep you safe. It is their job. Keep a phone handy. Always have a charged phone on hand and know where it is at all times. If your abuser locks your phone, um, you can find your computer, your kid's iPad, technology is everywhere. Um, Program emergency numbers such as 911 or your country's equivalent into speed dial. If you have a smartphone, consider using apps that discreetly call for help, such as the Aspire News app, Noonlight, or Circle of Six app. You can find those in the App Store. They are reporting any domestic abuse situation and they don't look like a phone app. Inform someone that you trust. Let a trusted friend, family member, or neighbor know what's happening and establish a check-in system. This is why I think it's really important to know the people around you where you live. I recently moved into a new house and I made it a point to introduce myself to all of my neighbors. And I walk the same route every single day and take my dogs to the dog park every single week. And something that really restored my faith in humanity is my dog has her period right now, so I can't go to the dog park. And I've had over 7 people contact me this week alone being like, hey, I haven't seen you recently. Are you okay? Just checking in on you to make sure that you're okay. That has restored my faith in humanity. Like, establish a
That's awesome.
routine. It really is. It really is. Establishing a routine can really help, especially other people when they recognize that your routine is not being followed. Share your safety plan with someone that you trust. They can help to alert authorities if necessary. And then be aware of resources, hotlines. The domestic violence hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Okay. I have that memorized because I have said it so often. Or you can text START to 88788. Also, research local shelters and domestic violence services, even if you don't think you need them immediately. Many shelters provide confidential services as well. If you guys know anything about Chat GPT, I love it so much. You can just go into Chat GPT and say that I am being abused, give me resources, and you're not Googling it, right? So there's no trace if you have a abusive partner who is like looking at your internet search history. They can be like, why are you using Chat GPT? And like, oh, I'm just asking dumb questions. What do you mean? It's an AI. It's fun. Also, Snapchat has an AI as well that you can ask for resources. I think every website has an AI. Meta also, you can ask for resources from them as well. And then documenting the abuse. This is crucial to record incidents, write down dates, times, and descriptions of the abuse incidents. If possible, take photos of injuries or damaged property and save the evidence. Keep records of texts, emails, voicemails, or any form of communication that shows abusive behavior. This documentation can help you file for legal protection. And like you were saying, Hannah, how you don't remember, that has been another thing that really helped me when I was being abused because I don't remember any of it, but I took like really detailed journal entries of all of what I got up to that day. And recently I was like reading through my journals just for fun, for shits and giggles. I had nothing better to do. And I didn't remember half of the stuff because my brain was protecting me from remembering it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's crazy too, that you were talking about like documenting and taking pictures? The only reason I knew my time frames was because I accidentally took pictures. I took live photos and I was able to see in the live photos like my timeline. So, yeah, pictures are so important. Writing things down as you remember. I mean, I write stuff down in my journal. As like I remember stuff, I'm like, "Oh, today like it's starting to come back to me. I'm gonna write this down."
Mm-hmm.
So important.
It is very, very important. And then consider filing a legal protection. Restraining orders in many places, you can apply for a restraining order or protection order that legally prohibits the abuser from coming near you or contacting you. File a police report. If there has been physical violence or threat of violence, please file a report with the authorities and seek legal advice, reaching out to a legal professional who specializes in domestic abuse to understand your options and your rights. It's very important to stay vigilant and trust your instincts. Okay. Your gut feeling that you are not safe is correct. People like may not believe this, but when someone is an abusive person, not only do they like give off an aura, but their pheromones are very different. It's the same thing as when a prey animal can smell a predator. They don't see them, they don't hear them, but they can smell them. It's a combination of adrenaline and of cortisol. People that are abusers will prey on those that they think are weak or those that they think are better than them. They just want to knock you down a peg. If you start to feel like, oh my God, I'm not safe, trust yourself. Okay. Your body is trying to protect you. Trust it. Um, I think that's one of the best things that you could ever do for yourself is to trust yourself, to avoid situations where arguments could turn physical. If you sense danger, leave as soon as possible. Trust your gut. If you're feeling uneasy or unsafe, prioritize your well-being over anything else. Okay. Fuck their feelings. Fuck them.
Yeah. Fuck them.
Sometimes leaving is the best option for survival, even if it feels overwhelming or difficult, and then prepare for the worst. Okay. Teach your children, if applicable, if you have children, teach them how to call for help and how to plan a way for them to escape in an event of an emergency. This is also really important if there's a fire. Teaching your kids how to open up the windows, teaching your kids how to like test to see if the doorknob is hot before grabbing it. That was something that I was taught as a child, was how to escape a house if it is burning. Teach them how to crawl on the ground because smoke rises, right? And you don't want to inhale smoke. The same thing goes for if they're ever in an abusive situation. And you can frame this in a way in which they're not afraid of their parents. Okay, you can frame it in a way of, say, there's a bad guy in the house, or there's a monster coming. What do we do if there's a monster coming? Okay, this is where we hide. This is where our important stuff is. Teaching them how to be safe is important. Teaching them how to avoid risky areas, like staying away from potential areas where there are weapons, such as the kitchen, knives, or the garage, right? Having a backup plan, being ready to leave suddenly at any time, keeping spare keys and other essentials easily accessible. I knew a woman that cloned her car keys because her husband like kept track of where her car keys were because he had like an air tag. So she went to the dealership one day and cloned her car keys so that she could hide them in a flower pot so that she could escape, so that he didn't notice that the keys were gone. There are steps that you can take to keep yourself safe. Okay. Sometimes it just takes a little extra thinking. Reaching out to support networks is also very vital. Counseling support groups. Many organizations offer free or low-cost counseling for domestic violence survivors. Support groups can also connect you with others in similar situations, and you can find camaraderie and understanding with them. At your workplace or your school, if possible, please inform them or your children's school about the situation. They can help monitor for unusual behavior and provide support. Consider financial safety, save money if you can. And I would especially consider opening, if you have joint finances, opening your own bank account at a separate institution, not at the same institution that you or your spouse or significant other are at. Opening a separate bank account that maybe has a little bit of money every so often. And if your significant other is monitoring the amount of money that you're making, getting a deposit, you can ask your workplace. This is a real thing. You can ask your workplace to save some of your check and put it into another bank account. I know it's a whole extra step, but explaining to them the situation, you can do that.
And a lot of times too, like because everything's like through the computer, you can go in there into like where your pay stubs are and actually do that, and it's easy. It'll take like one pay cycle usually to go through, at least for like where I work, that's how it is. And it's, you can say, hey, I want to put $40 a check into this account and the rest go here. No, that's a really good tip.
mm-hmm. It saved one of my friend's mom's life, because her ex-husband was keeping track of their money, and it really did save them because she put some money away so that she could get a hotel room for her and her kids and get out. And eventually they did get out of the abusive situation and got all of her money back, but it took a long time. Um, Saving money, even cash, keeping cash in a place where, I don't know, your person wouldn't normally look for it, like the garden, putting it in a waterproof bag and hiding it in places where they wouldn't know to look. Um, and collecting important documents, keeping birth certificates, insurance papers, bank statements, and other important documents in a safe place, or having copies stored with someone that you trust. It's very important to get counseling and therapy because domestic abuse has lasting emotional, psychological effects. Reaching out to a mental health professional can help you cope with trauma and starting to heal. And remember that leaving an abusive situation can be the most dangerous time. So it's very important to plan carefully. You do not have to face this alone. You don't have to go through any of it alone. Please reach out for resources and people that can support you, because there are people out there who will want to support you and who will want to see you safe. Can you, Hannah, talk about the process of you regaining your life after leaving?
Yeah. So it's definitely, I mean, when you go through something so traumatic, it's really hard to get your feet under you. Um, I'm very grateful for having the support system that I do. I have my parents and my best friends, and like my coworkers and everyone has just been so supportive. So thankfully it wasn't as difficult. But I mean, it's still hard, but um, just like taking that one, you have to take time to recover. Like you can't just have something traumatic like that happen to you and then just think that you're gonna jump back right into like your, you know, life before trauma happened. Like you have to heal. At least like physically start like healing. And once like you're feeling better, you get rest. Like you have to take care of yourself. You cannot like let yourself go, or like you have to get up. You have to, try to do things even though it's hard. Um, and then once you start doing that, then you can start focusing on, doing small tasks. Okay, hey, today I'm gonna go for a walk, or hey, today I'm gonna go to the grocery store. And if you're not, if you don't want to go and you're like, what, I'm not feeling it today, I feel humiliated and I just don't want to go out in public, then don't. It's okay. Um, but getting back like onto like a schedule, because like for me, like I'm an operations manager. I work with a lot of people. And I was terrified to come back to work. Um, and just having to face it, you know. Um, but thankfully I was able to take a couple weeks to like heal, and like at least like my bruising was gone when I came back. But you gotta find like how to do things on your own, and that's, I mean, even with the support, you still have to find how you are going to maneuver independently. Um, you know, and maybe some people aren't at that point to like, hey, I don't want to be alone, or whatever it is, but you have to find what works for you in those types of situations. And it's okay to not be alone, and maybe you can't be independent. It's okay. Everybody's different. But for me, I love my independence. I've always loved my independence. Um, and just, starting small, like, okay, I'm going to go to the store. The first time I went to the store by myself, I was terrified because I never go anywhere, because I always had my ex with me. It's okay to not, or to have those days where, you feel like I don't want to go out in public. I don't want to be seen. I just want to stay home. Like you're going to have your ups and downs, and, you're going to get your feet under you as you go through this process, this healing process. And you're going to find your groove. And, like the hardest thing I would say about getting back to life is like the aloneness that you feel sometimes. Like I still feel that, but I look at it like, you know what? Like look at everything around me. I'm here, I'm alive. I have my daughter, I have my dogs. I'm grateful for everything that I have. Um, and it's okay. Like I'm okay. I'm gonna move forward with my life. And um an outlet like that's like helped me so much is going to the gym. Like honestly, that is like such a good outlet. For me, like it just helps me like forget everything. Like if I had a bad day, I'm like, I can't wait to go to the gym, like you just take it out at the gym, that sadness or whatever you're going through, and it actually helps me sleep at night. Because for a while, like I was only getting like 3 hours of sleep because I was just so sad. and I couldn't sleep and I was getting insomnia. And you find things that work, like meditation's good too, yoga, hikes, walks, whatever it is, like incorporating those things into your daily life after like a traumatic event, it helps so much. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
then eventually you start building a routine, and then you're like, hey, this is my new normal. And that's kind of like how it is for me right now. Like I wasn't expecting, any of this to happen, and I just remember like when this first happened, I was just like, how am I ever gonna get back to my normal life? And it's like this is my normal life now, and I'm getting my feet under me, and I'm taking the steps that I need to. And it's not the same as it was before, but I can continue to make it better. And it's okay to have those bad days.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree. Making that new routine for yourself can really help you feel more empowered, um, and more in control of your life and what you want to do. I mean, for me, um, I've been trying to take better care of myself because when I was going through like the worst traumas, I recognized, damn, I really did let myself go. It wasn't because I was trying to let myself go, but that horrible feeling just made me just not like myself. And then I looked in the mirror recently. I'm like, I don't recognize this person. This doesn't look like the picture that I have of me in my head. And I want to get back to that picture that I have of me in my head, that happy person. And so I started doing the things that made me happy again, like taking walks again. When I was in college, I loved walks. I loved walking around on campus. So now I do my 2.5 mile walk every morning, and I feel so much better. And I feel like energized and ready to tackle the rest of my day. And it's just an hour, to walk 2.5 miles with my two dogs. And if I don't get that walk, my dogs are like planning to murder me because they're like, what the heck? I have a blue heeler Aussie mix and she has so much
Oh gosh,
energy. So she's
I
like,
bet.
girl, she's planning my downfall if I don't give her that walk. So I'm just like, this is for me, but also for the gremlin, because if the gremlin does not get walked, I will hear about it from the gremlin, from her little mouse. But it has rejuvenated my life again. I feel so much more in control. And it's those incremental changes. I know for some people are like 2.5 miles, that's crazy. But I didn't start off with 2.5 miles. Don't get me wrong. Okay. I just started doing like 15-minute walks. I put a timer on my phone, 15 minutes. I'm going to walk around the neighborhood. And then I was like, after a couple of weeks, I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this. Actually, I'm going to increase it. Why not? And there's a huge park right by my house. And I was like, okay, I'll walk around the park. And I know it's for disc golf. Those disc golf bros hate me because I'm walking all over their disc golf. But it's a park, so fuck you. And I'm going. I'm going with my dogs. And it's been so lovely and so, I don't know, life affirming to just be out in nature and see all the little rabbits and the raccoons and the deer, and just your problems seem so much smaller when you're outside and you're away from it all. I don't even bring my phone with me on walks anymore. I'm just outside, and it's so beneficial. And I'm glad that you have the gym. I'm glad that you have a way to physically exert yourself that releases so much cortisol and adrenaline that's stored in our muscles. And I'm really proud of you, Hannah. You've come such a far way. And really, your story is inspiring. to myself, and I'm sure to many others who are listening to this episode. I'm very grateful that we could reschedule this episode, come back on, because I really wanted you to come on. I was like, oh no. Oh, girl.
No, thank you. And I'm proud of you too because I know it's not easy and going and getting back and getting your feet under you and like also finding outlets for yourself is awesome. And I mean, you're doing so much with your podcast and letting survivors have voices, and that's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. How are you feeling right now, Hannah? How you doing?
I feel good. I'm happy. I'm glad that I was able to come on here and talk with you and meet you. Um, I am really hoping that this episode gets to the right people. And I hope that somebody's able to like utilize the amazing resources that you were talking about on here and just like the plans that you have because they're super thorough and awesome. And I wish I knew like all those things before I went through what I did. But no, I feel really good and I'm excited
Mm.
to see where this goes. So
How can I support you?
just keep doing these podcasts, girl.
Speaking directly
More
to our
people.
listeners, girl, Hannah, speaking directly to them. Called you Hannah because that's how my friends like said her name. Which her name is spelled Hannah, but she was like, no, I'm Hannah.
One of
Hannah.
my bosses was calling me that for a really long time. He's from Canada and he'd be like, Hana. And I'm like, I never corrected him though. So I'm used to it.
Girl, I get it. Speaking directly to our listeners, what would be your message about healing from domestic abuse?
I would say everybody's healing journey is different. Healing could be all over the place. One day, you might be fine. You might have a good week. Then you might have like the absolute worst day ever and you feel super down, sad. You might feel angry. You're going to go through a lot of different phases. Push through the bad days and know who you can lean on for support. I promise you that there's so many people out there, myself included. We want people to heal. We want to be there to support people that are going through these traumatic experiences, and everybody heals at their own pace. Don't don't feel like, hey, it's been 6 months and I'm not healed. It's okay. It takes time. Um, and just keep looking for the resources to help. Trauma therapy is amazing. Group therapy is absolutely amazing. Um, but it's okay to have bad days and don't forget that on your healing journey because it happens and it still happens to me and it's probably going to happen for a really long time, but I know who I can go to for support and I just hope that whoever is listening to this that they have that support and if they don't, I hope that they reach out to us so that we can support them.
Yeah, girl, I'm here. If anybody needs support, Hannah and I are both here, and we also have the Discord. It's anonymous, it's free, it's peer support. So if you ever need to connect with someone on there and you don't want to like directly message us, please connect through the Discord. And some ways to support someone who has been abused is to listen to the person and believe them. Okay, honor where they are in their process, and please don't push your personal values onto them. Please offer assistance and let them know that they are not alone. Help them note down all the details that they can remember. Maybe it's too much for them to write, so write it for them. Remind them that they are not to blame for anything that has happened to them, no matter how big or small. Encourage them to seek professional support, either through a confidential hotline or medical mental health care providers. Encourage them to speak up about the abuse and report their abusers to the authorities because keeping it a secret only protects the abuser. Okay. Respect whatever choice that they make and let them know that you'll be there regardless of what they decide. If they decide to stay, please don't abandon them. Okay. I understand it may be very hard to witness someone that you love in an abusive situation, but the worst thing that you can do to them is leave them, because who's going to remain in that abusive situation but the abuser? Abuser will be like, oh, well, I'm here for you. Look, they left you. Clearly they're abusive because I'm not leaving you. Please don't leave them. Okay. Please stay and let them know that they are loved. Abuse can take many different shapes and forms. It can be extremely traumatic to experience, leaving behind not only physical wounds, emotional scars, and health issues. It can affect every aspect of a person's life and make it very difficult for them to function. Recovery takes time, but speaking up about the abuse, leaving the abusive situation, and seeking treatment are important steps that will help. Do you have any resources or recommendations that you'd like to share with us, Hannah?
Um, One of the absolute best resources that I have had since my trauma, it's called Safe Embrace. It's in Nevada. I don't know like if they're like located in other states. They are the most amazing group of people. Um, I mean, just from like the moment I walked in and I was like, I don't want to do any type of group therapy or support, like they were like arms open, like, are you in a safe place? Do you need a shelter? Do you have dogs? They need a shelter, and it was just like, this place is so amazing and it's just full of people that really care and want to help. And they have, I wish I had I'm gonna have to give you the number so you can put it on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but they are amazing, and I'm pretty sure too, like even for other like states and stuff, they can provide like information, um, lawyers, like everything. They help with everything. So Safe Embrace is amazing.
Their phone number is 775-322-3466, or you can go check them out online at www.safeembrace.org. That is www.safeembrace.org. Please check them out. They really do have a great website. I will also leave their website in our description for you guys to check out as well. They are located in Nevada, which is awesome. So that's a great resource for those of us living in Nevada. Well, thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you. It was truly a privilege and a joy to speak with you. Even despite these circumstances, I'm in awe of the strong woman that you are and how much you have persevered for yourself and your daughter. Truly, it is an honor to speak with you. I'm really blessed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Grace. No, I appreciate this, and maybe we can set up another one in a couple of months to be like, where's she at now?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do that. Yes, I do. I've had a couple, return guests and saying what they're up to now and how they've progressed in their healing journey. I would definitely love to have you on again, or even for a different topic if you'd like. Um, Thank you so much for sharing.
Well, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Mm.
No, thank you so much, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your night, Grace. Thank
At the end of every episode, we like to spin our wheel of emotions to learn a new feeling and how it correlates to trauma. Let's spin this wheel, shall we? Okay. All right. It landed on scared, terrified, and frightened. Domestic abuse obviously makes us feel scared, terrified for our lives, and frightened of what may happen to us or happen to our loved ones. If you're in an abusive situation, you are not alone. Millions of people experience domestic abuse daily, and I'm not making that up. Domestic abuse is the most underreported crime worldwide, not just in the United States, which is where I'm located. It is the most underreported crime because so many people feel scared of their abusers and feel scared that if they report them, that only more abuse is going to occur. That's horrible. In this episode, we discuss safety plans and how important it is to make one for yourself. And if you have children, how vital it is to make sure that they are safe as well. I want to thank you for being here at the end of this episode and sticking around. I really appreciate you. If you are experiencing any type of domestic abuse, please reach out to someone. Please get the help that you need. And please leave the situation in a safe way. Okay? Let's make our plans. Let's get out. If you'd like to support the podcast, we have a Patreon. Different tiers can get you a bracelet. That's a handmade bracelet made by me, Grace. Or you can get a sticker like the one on the back of my computer. The links are in the description. Any support helps the podcast out a lot. So if you feel compelled to, please like, subscribe to the podcast, and share the show with your friends, okay? Please share this show. I know this show could help so many more people if they knew about it. You know, I am doing all of the legwork for this podcast all on my own, so it would mean a great deal to me if you shared it with someone that you know would like it. Any support helps out the podcast a lot, so like, comment, subscribe, share the show, and if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you are capable of a fulfilling life in spite of your circumstances and your trauma. May you rise again from the ashes and be filled with peace, hope, love, joy, and understanding. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a happy Halloween, and thank you for listening. Mwah. Goodbye.